Welcome back to the Meeple Marathon and our continued coverage of Massive Darkness 2 and the classes that you can play as part of the game. So today we're going to be taking a look at the Necromancer class. This is the class that is said to be fighting evil with evil, undead with undead, shadow with shadow, and so on and so forth. So as it would make sense, the Necromancer class is all about bringing things back from the dead. So there is a little bit of setup that is abnormal, but let's talk about the basic setup first. You're going to want to go ahead and get the your Necromancer board or the soul tracker here. This is going to basically, as you kill minions and leaders, you're going to capture their souls and you're going to track that number of captured souls on this track. You're also going to spend those souls to do your actions. So this is going to be, going back and forth throughout the game. You're also going to want to get your bind tokens and just have them nearby. They don't need to be spread out like this, but you have 3 bind tokens because you can, if you level up your skills, control 3 leaders, not just minions, but leaders of various enemy factions at a time, and 1 roaming monster. So that's what these 3 are for. These are not for individual skeletons that you may raise from the dead. These are for leaders and then 1 roaming monster. So you just want to have these off to the side. You're going to have to learn the appropriate skill to be able to use these. All right, and like I said, you are going to be given the opportunity to raise skeletons from the dead. So this is the kind of odd setup that's not standard. You're going to want to remove the skeletons horde card, or mob card, sorry, the level 1 to 2 mob card for skeletons, and you actually set this next to your player board. This is actually something you control. And you're going to want to go ahead and gather up all of the skeleton miniatures here, including the leader. You can kind of set him off to the side, but you actually, if you're playing with the Necromancer, you are never going to encounter the skeletons in the dungeon, because you get to control them as your personal army. So just know that you should set this aside. Technically, you don't have to pull this card out if you have a really nice setup system, but if you were to draw this one, just set it off to the side. But you are going to want it out at some point. So let's get to that here. So the skills for a Necromancer follow the same order. There's kind of 3 level 1 starting skills that grow up at level 3 and level 5, and then there's your 2 other skills that are at 2 and 4. So as you are learning new skills, you're going to be raising this up as you kill minions and leaders and things like that, and then you're going to be spending the souls to do your actions. And you can also see that there's 3 thresholds here with the skull icon on them. Let me raise this up here so you can get a better look at this. For example, if you are on or beyond this threshold, you can spend 1 mana to gain 1 automatic hit on an attack. If you are up above this threshold, not only do you get this bonus, but you also get +1 blue die on defense. And if you get all the way up here and keep it here, you get to roll an additional die on an attack, and anytime you would gain a soul, you gain it as mana instead. So there is a bit of strategy involved with the Necromancer as to, do I just continue gaining souls to try and get up to this final threshold, because then basically you have 3 kind of passive bonuses you get, or do I spend them? Because as soon as you spend them, you lose whatever bonus you have made it in front of. So unless you keep your souls here at the end and don't spend them in any way, you're going to then lose this attack bonus. But they are automatic. So as soon as you cross this threshold, say you take 1 action to attack, you cross this threshold all the way up to here, and then you take another action to attack, then you can gain that bonus. So, and how you track your souls is the exact same as how you track your experience points. So it's very straightforward if you're a Necromancer. For every miniature in the game that you kill, you get to gain 1 soul. For every leader that you kill or anyone else kills, you get to gain 2 souls. And for every roaming monster you or anyone else kills, you get to claim 4 souls. And again, just like XP, if you kill the leader, that's 1 for the miniature and 2 for the leader. If you kill the roaming monster, that's 1 for the miniature and 1, 2, 3, 4 for the roaming monster. Everyone else also gets to gain that in XP, and so do you. You still gain it in XP, you also gain it in souls. Your XP is still used to learn new skills. So let's look at those skills. All right, the most popular skill is the Raise Skeletons skill. Basically, if you learn this skill from the beginning, you're going to be spending souls. You can see here it says spend 2 souls to summon 1 skeleton minion in your zone, limit 2. So if you were to spend 2 souls, you would take a skeleton and you would put it here. Remember, you don't need this because all skeletons are in your control. You should never be confused as to a skeleton in your army versus any other mob figure. As this levels up, you basically can, the limit of skeletons you can have in your zone increases. So at level 5, you can have 6 skeletons in your zone. Basically what the skeletons are going to do is move with you. They kind of follow you around. They can't take actions on their own. But before you attack, they are going to roll a black die for each skeleton and deal wounds prior to your attacks. You may not even need to roll dice if you have enough of a horde of skeletons with you. Unfortunately, though, every time you take a hit as the Necromancer, you lose a skeleton. You also take the hit. So you take a hit and you lose a skeleton. So they're kind of hard to keep around, but they're pretty cheap to summon. So the next skill we want to talk about is just really kind of a basic attack skill. This one's called Death Shadows. Well, it seems that way on the surface. So this one is if you kill 1 leader or roaming monster, you gain an additional soul. All right, so that seems pretty straightforward. Also here, if you are in shadow during an attack action, you can spend a soul to gain 2 automatic hits. Well, that's not bad if you position yourself, but this skill gets better. Starting at level 3, you, as long as you have your threshold at the 2nd threshold or higher, so you want to keep it up in this range here, you yourself create shadow. So the zone you are in is considered a shadow zone. So for you and any other hero in your zone, they're rolling the shadow die. You're rolling the shadow die, and you can take advantage of your ability here when in shadow, spend 1 soul to gain +2 attack. So really nice skill in my opinion, because you can basically, if you stick together, you know, you're just living in shadow. You're rolling that shadow die every time, and so is everyone else that might be fighting with you. It does not give any bonus to your skeletons. Nothing you raise from the dead ever rolls a shadow die. All right, the last one here is, I guess, could kind of make you a tank per se. This essentially is allowing you to reroll dice in combat, and instead of taking wounds, you can lose souls instead. And for this, it basically increases the amount of dice you can reroll. It can get you back a Lifebringer token, which is interesting. It's the only one that can actually get one back, and so on and so forth. So those are kind of the 3 basic skills. All right, let's push those off to the side. Then we have our Leader Rebirth skill. So at this skill, this is where you are going to need your bind tokens. All right, if you learn this skill, you can spend as an action. All right, so you're having to take one of your actions to do this, whereas over here, this was a free action, summoning a skeleton. Here, you're having to spend an action to revive 1 leader, place it in your zone. Now, the leaders that you can choose to revive from are ones that have been defeated, but the skeleton leader automatically starts and is considered one that has been defeated. So All the rest of them, you want to make sure you keep a mob discard pile handy, and so then you can go through your mob discard pile, no matter whether you killed it or someone else did, and choose a leader. This is when you want to stick them on the bind token, because you will have multiple factions of leaders running around, and as you increase here, you could potentially have a revive limit of 2, and then if you're playing the Heavenfall and getting up into 6 through 10 levels, then you can get up to 3. Also, if you revive a leader, you're going to take their card. You also can give it a weapon, just like you give the mobs a weapon. Now, this weapon has to come from either your personal weapon or something in your inventory. So let's just say, for example, Mortimer here had the double axe sitting in his inventory. He wasn't using it. He is going to give it to this skeleton. Now, unlike the skeleton minions over here who just kind of follow you around like a mob and roll dice ahead of time and are killed off very easily, these skeletons work very similar to the elementals for the what's the class I'm trying to think of here? Shaman class. My apologies. Similar to your elemental summons for the shaman class, you can activate these guys for free once each turn, which means you can either move them or attack with them, and then you can spend your actions to again activate them again. And when they attack, you're using the weapon dice down here. You also get to use the weapon ability, this one giving you attack 1 reroll, and their health is right here. So if you have a leader moving around the map, they are considered a hero miniature as far as targeting is concerned for the actual mobs on the board. So if nothing else, these could be cannon fodder. They could get in a shot or two, and then they could draw the attention of a mob, draw the attention away from you. And again, they're not going to be able to, similar to summons and other things, they can't interact, they can't open doors, they don't use shadow dice, all things like that. So those kind of rules for allies, companions, summons, things like that, all stay the same across the game, which I think is really nice. And then last but not least is the Monster Reborn. Now this is, you really will only be able to make use of this once a roaming monster has been defeated and makes it into the discard pile, but that's when you would want to get out this big bad token here. At most, you're ever only going to be able to control a one roaming monster, but they get stronger. They get additional movement points. They get additional health, things like that, as you increase this level. So only ever one roaming monster. One has to have already died in the dungeon, and it is pretty costly. So 6 souls spent just to revive the roaming monster, but then again, you have the card in front of you. You get to go through and choose one of the actions that is on the roaming monster card. It gets to activate on its own. Also, when you're moving, say, a leader or a roaming monster, they're going to have 2 movement points, just like a hero does. So, I believe that covers most everything for the Necromancer, so you have a basic understanding of how they play and how they level up. Again, you could simply focus on keeping your threshold high and gaining these passive bonuses, or you could be constantly spending souls to gain all these additional things like +2 hits on attacks. So the Necromancer really can be quite a powerful hero as far as straight attacking is concerned. Also, if they can get a horde going, or almost like a tank class, if they can get somebody out here to just be cannon fodder, because a tank just has someone who absorbs the damage from the enemies, so it really doesn't matter that some summons is absorbing the damage. That's just my opinion. All right, so let's take a look at our 3 Necromancers. These first 2 come in the small box expansion, which is Monks and Necromancers versus Paragon, and then the last one's going to be from the Darkbringer pack. So Mortimer here can at any point spend 1 soul to heal 2, which is really nice. Just he doesn't have a lot of health, but you don't have to worry about him too much because 1 soul is pretty cheap. And in Shadow, if he rolls the Shadow symbol, he gets 3 souls. Pretty straightforward. Alright, Igraine here, or Igraine, or however you would pronounce her name, Peacock Lady, as lots of people like to call her. She can spend mana to gain a soul, which can be handy if you're like 1 step away from a threshold. You know, she only starts with 3 mana, so you're going to have to level her up to make this feel like it's worth it. And then her Shadow die, you know, not only do you have to roll the Shadow symbol, but then you have to spend additional mana, additional souls, just for the defender to lose some shield. I'm not super big on Igraine, personally, her skills. Harriet, however, I think is the best Necromancer. At the start of your turn, roll 1 black die. If you roll the monster special ability symbol, you gain a soul. So this is a really nice passive ability. You know, why not? It just gives you a chance. I think it's like a 2 in 6 chance. Maybe it's only 1 in 6, who knows, of gaining a soul. Why not? But then the Shadow ability here is kill 1 defending minion and gain 1 additional soul. That is really cool too. And remember, if you set Harriet up with the Death's Shadow skill tree, you will be constantly in Shadow, constantly be rolling the Shadow die and easily picking off minions, which then is going to give you additional souls. You can spend those souls to then be attacking for 2 automatic hits every single time. Harriet can definitely, become quite the bruiser. So, anyways, that is the Necromancer class for Massive Darkness 2. We just have 1 class left, and that will be the Monk class coming up next. If you're enjoying these videos, please consider giving them a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more videos like this in the future, including our Monk class overview, and then after that, we're going to be reviewing the 3D scenery that you can pick up for the game, please consider subscribing to the channel. Once again, thanks for watching. Have a great day.